What's up guys, Steve here. Welcome back to my channel. We're going over everything on your rental car fleet and how to make it run as smoothly as possible. This goes for many different platforms, whether it's HireCar, Avail, Turo. Turo's the one that I mostly use. Get around, any one of these. I go over whatever you need to do to make this run as smoothly as possible before you get to that point where you just say, you know what? These platforms are taking way too much money. I need to do this on my own. At that point, then it's a whole nother story. But for right now, this is what it's all about. Now, if you guys are new to the car sharing platform, period, you're just hearing about it from the news or a buddy, a friend, whatever you have, Turo, all these platforms are basically, it's an Airbnb for cars, so that way you can rent out your cars to somebody else and you can pocket the cash. It's kind of like Uber, except for now, I can have multiple cars and I don't have to take up my time driving people around. Let somebody else do that. So now that we got that little breakdown done, let's get right into the most common questions that I come across when I'm doing these consultations, when I'm talking to y'all. And if you guys are new to my channel and not quite sure about all this, or you're actually in it already and just kind of hitting that little roadblock of what to do, why my cars aren't moving, what's the next step I can do, or how do I boost my earnings, check out the description below and I will drop a link down there so you guys can get a one-on-one with me. Okay, for real, let's get into this now. So you're gonna go buy a car, but you see that it has damage history on the report and you're just not sure, is it going to work? My thing is go through, act like you're gonna list it while you're right there on the lot, whatever you have to do, and this will also tell you if there's any recalls or anything like that. So you can check it that way, but simple answer, minor damages, it's not a big deal. As long as it's not a total loss, a restored, salvage, restored title, anything like that, any kind of altered title, as long as it's a clean and clear title, you are good to go. So list it, send it, make some money, go get it. Next thing we got, you guys got late returns. Somebody is already in your car, but you got back-to-back bookings and they are stating that they're not going to make it back in time. And can you get reimbursed for the upcoming trip that you have to cancel on? Simple answer is no, you're not gonna be able to charge the next renter for that full price that you're losing out on. But there are things that you can compensate, that you can get back for this, and some of the things will be late return. You can report a late return up to after 30 minutes of the return time, as long as you go through all the processes that you need to. And then on top of that, if you report it to Turo 2 hours after the return time, you can actually get a full day's rate out of it. So there's that way to go about it too. It gets you a little bit more than if you just do it 30 minutes after the return time. The other one you can do is make sure that you are checking for anything, whether it be cleaning, fuel, anything else that you can do to recomp some of that money. Ultimately what it does is they took money out of your pocket, and it really sucks, especially if it's a good week-long trip or something like that. So just kind of figure out what you got to do, work with it, and also make sure that you file everything that you need to with Turo, so that way when it does come down to charging, it's hands down, no questions asked. Boom, send it, collect that dough, do what you gotta do. So next thing we got, a guest is out of town. You're in one of these real high touristy areas and they left stuff in your car. What do you do with it? Well, clearly, customer service side of it, you wanna make sure you provide the best customer service. You know, there'll be communication there. Figure out the cheapest way to get it back to them and find out if they're willing to pay for that. But do what you have to. I mean, realistically, I don't wanna be a jerk and say you can just toss it and they would never know, but do what you need to. Customer service, if it's something little, you know, find out. I did come across one time a player's card, a casino's player's card, and I was like, yo, here you go, do you want this thing? I wasn't sure if it had anything on it. I'm like, you know, wasn't sure if you're just trying to leave me a fat tip or not. And she just laughed and she said, nope, there ain't nothing on it. But find out, reach out to these guys, figure out what you need to do and get it back to them if need be. Now, there has been other things, and I will say I've seen guns, drugs, all kinds of weird stuff left in cars. Make sure you guys do your due diligence with that stuff. Obviously, if it's a gun, I'm not gonna say call them up and be like, yo, your gun's here. I mean, it's a case-by-case situation, right? But me personally, I'm not gonna mess with it, and I will probably report it so that way, if and in fact that gun was used for any kind of suspicious activity, you know, law enforcement will run the numbers and figure out what they need to do. But it is kind of case by case. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? Do what you guys feel is right. All right, so now the next one. If a renter ends up having a flat tire while they have the car, while the car's in their possession, who's responsible for that? The host or the guest? Simple. You let that car go in good condition. It's their responsibility. They have to take care of it. Now, you did leave them a good operating vehicle, so now it's their responsibility to maintain and uphold the same quality for the vehicle. So if they get a nail in the tire or they pinch it on a curb or something like that, it is technically their responsibility. They're not going to be happy about it. There are links for the terms of service, so you can put that in the messages when they ask about it, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to be happy about it. Usually they're 9 times out of 10, they're like, what? I thought, how am I responsible for it? Well, honestly, if you weren't in the car, then my car wouldn't have a flat because you ran over the box of nails over there. Sorry, not my problem. Not to be a jerk, but you know what I mean, like that's how it goes. So when it comes down to it, ultimately flat tires are the renter's responsibility. Now, if you're going out there and you're showing that these tires are bald from the check-in, you may inquire some costs for this, but for the most part, as long as you're running your equipment the way it should be and up to date, up to standards, you should be covered with this and not have to pay out of pocket. Bonus note, I will tell you that some hosts or some states, if you are a power host, Turo may cover your tires. Now, this may change, but as of right now, the state I'm in right now, they cover windshield and tires. So that's huge. For all the rest of you guys, just make sure you're doing your due diligence and keeping everything as well maintained as possible. So that way you're not having to take over these costs if they happen to pop up for you. And it's not a matter of if, but when. All right, so we got the last point for this video. I normally try and keep it just a few points because it gets long-winded. Y'all know I talk too much. But I will say it, people are always asking, what kind of car should I get? I'm thinking about getting a Turo. What kind of car should I get? Should I get it this one? Should I get that one? Simple answer is you don't know until you start doing your research. It's gonna be just like running comps for homes. You're gonna be checking out what's in your market, what the prices are, what are you able to buy it for, and what's gonna give you the best return. What's gonna give you the best bang for your buck. Now, if you're not quite sure how to do this, like I said, check the link below. I can help you guys out with this. But simple way to go through is find out which cars are in your market, how many trips they have, and this is gonna be for the broad market, right? But you're typically gonna go for the cars that have the most trips. Now, if you have a higher end, more exotic car, a car that gives more of the experience, that's gonna be a little bit different. You can't quite go off of who has the most trips and how much this car's making or anything like that. So you're gonna have to kind of go with your gut on that. It will be a little bit more of a risk, but I think it'll be worth it because, like I said, Turo is all about the experience. So make sure you guys know that going in. You don't want to give somebody some janky, busted, POS. You want to have something that's somewhat legit or legit. I don't want to say somewhat, but it's legit. So definitely do your research for the market that you're in. This will help out huge. And quite simply, the more you do it, the more you're gonna get better at it, the more you're gonna get proficient at it, and you're just gonna be able to look at a car and be like, boom, that one's gonna get me 800 bucks a month. That one's gonna, gross me 800 bucks a month. That one's gonna gross me 50 to 100 bucks. Like, don't wanna do that. So the more you're into it, the more you start really getting into it, researching it, the better off you'll be. But before you go out just buying a car, check your market, see what you're into. Now, if you're on the West Coast and you got sunshine 90% of the time, convertibles, yeah, they do great down on PCH. Or if you're in Florida, same thing. But if you're in Colorado, Denver, you're not going to want a convertible, right? Because yeah, it may do good for 5 months out of the year, but then the other months you're stuck in the snow. So make sure you know your market. If you're living in that market, obviously you're gonna know a little bit better too. What is something that you're gonna wanna be in? So I hope this all helped out a little bit. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, doing all that stuff. Stick around, I got a ton more content coming out that's gonna make it work so much easier for you guys. And I'll also kind of give you guys a little bit of my background later on too, so that way you guys know that I'm not some newbie right off the street. Kind of know what I'm doing a little bit. But I want to make sure that you guys don't make the same mistakes that I did. So that's my whole point with all this stuff. I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys. So thanks for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one. Later, y'all.